It's an exciting start to the race, with Themamestic leading the pack, followed closely by Gary Z and ST4NBZH. Keep those engines revving. Caymanine 70 for overtakes 81,792, moving up to 11p. Wagp makes a move to 16p, passing Amin San and Fosteroy. MBG 2129 and Nukembakam advance to 20p, overtaking Resulti Adhar. MBG 2129 and Nukembakam making swift moves, overtaking 4 cars to secure 16p. One serious guy also on the move, passing 4 cars to claim 26p. Gary Z has taken the lead from Themamestic and is now in 1p. Themamestic is challenging Qnan Sifar for second place, with an intense battle between the Dow 962 LM and the Porsche 911 GT1. Ricky095 has made a move up to 5th, overtaking Baroyanix Warcry. Further back, ESG 7 and Resulti Adhar are locked in a duel for 19th place, with the Jaguar XJ220S and the Ferrari F50 GT in competition. Neo Texum has advanced to 8p, surpassing Okyoki 3. The two are now in a heated battle for the 8th position. Neo Texum is in a Porsche 911 GT1 and Okyoki 3 is in a Dow 962 LM. Additionally, Spikex has climbed to 25p, overtaking both Bobardo and Edelberg. Ricky095 secures the 4th position, overtaking Qnan Sifar. Resulti Adhar gains ground, moving up to 18th place, surpassing Komodo 3K and Amy. One serious guy advances to 22nd place, overtaking Outcrossed. Neo Texum takes 8th place from Okyoki 3. Okyoki 3 overtakes 81,792, now in 9th place. Twix 560 moves up to 23rd, passing Outcrossed. Neo Texum and Okyoki 3 are closely contesting for the 8th position. MBG 2129 and Nukembakam have advanced to 14th, successfully overtaking WAC. The 3 drivers are now engaged in a duel for the 14th spot. $81,792 has advanced to 9th place, surpassing Duff Dad. Duff Dad has also progressed to 10th place, overtaking Okyoki 3. In addition, WAC has moved up to 14th place, overtaking MBG 2129 and Nukembakam. Okyoki 3 is facing challenges, falling back to 33rd position. MBG 2129 and Nukembakam are making strides, now at 14th place after overtaking Amin San and Fosteroy. Resulti Adhar is also on the move, advancing to 17th place, overtaking Komodo 3K and Amy. It's a heated start with Gary taking the lead, closely followed by Themamestic. Saint 4NBZH is keeping up in 3rd place. Raphael and Meyer are in a tight race for the 34th spot, both driving a Tomeso Pantra GT5S and Rough CTR Yellowbird respectively. Meanwhile, Okyoki 3 is making a move, closing in on Shipperman and MRF Society, reducing the gap by 2.8 seconds. Aminsan and Vosteroy are making waves, advancing to 14th position and overtaking MBG 2129 and Newcambochum. The battle for the 14th spot is heating up. Aminsan and Vosteroy are in a Dower 962 LM, while MBG 2129 and Newcambochum are piloting a Porsche 911 GT1. Additionally, Okyoki 3 has moved up to 40th position, surpassing Susanne Greenberg and Super Lacroix. ST4NBZH has taken over 2P from Team Amestic. Neo Texum from Team Navgum Kings and 81792 are in an intense battle for 8P. Aminsan and Vosteroy have advanced to 13P, surpassing WAC. Sputnik NZ and One Serious Guy are neck and neck, fighting for the 20th position. Okyoki 3 has made a move up to 36th place, overtaking Twitch 5D. Jared Vainjoven has made a solid move up to 39P, surpassing both Crazy Blue and Nibbit. Now we've got a three-way battle for that 39th spot. Jared Vainjoven is in a Caterham Super 7 1700 SS, while Crazy Blue and Nibbit are both maneuvering Ford Escort RS Cosworth 95S. Okay, we've got Okyoki 3 making moves, now up to 33P after overtaking El de la Coper. WAC, MBG 2129 and Newcambochum are fiercely competing for the 14th position. Meanwhile, Wayne Train 94 has made a move up to 28th place, skillfully overtaking Hoped 03. The battle continues as Wayne Train 94 and Hoped 03 are now in a tussle for 28th place, with Wayne Train 94 in a Porsche 911 GT1 and Hoped 03 in a Ferrari F50 GT. Neo Texum and Dovdad are locked in a tight battle for 9th place, with Neo Texum in a Porsche 911 GT1 and Dovdad in a McLaren F1 LM. Okyoki 3 is making gains on MD 162 and Surayan Bot, reducing the gap by 3.4 seconds. ESGN 7 has advanced to 18P, surpassing Sputnik NZ. Meanwhile, Sputnik NZ has progressed to 19P, overtaking Komodo 3K and Amy. ESGN 7 in the Jaguar XJ220S and Sputnik NZ in the McLaren F1 LM are locked in a tight battle for 19th place. Keep an eye on these two as they navigate through the race. MBG 2129 and Newcambochum are making their move, overtaking WAC to secure the 14th position. The three cars are now engaged in a tight battle for that spot. Sputnik NZ and One Serious Guy are neck and neck for 20P, with Sputnik NZ in a McLaren F1 LM and One Serious Guy in a Dower 962 LM. Meanwhile, Okyoki 3 has made a move to 32P by overtaking MD 162 and Surayan Bot. Dovdad has made a solid move up to 9P, getting past Neo Texum in an exciting battle. WAC is also on the move, climbing to 14P after overtaking both MBG 2129 and Newcambochum. Yunlong Cipher is closing the gap to ST4NBZH by 3.4 seconds. MBG 2129 and Newcambochum have advanced to 15P, passing Resultiadhar. MBG 2129 and Newkenbakken in a Porsche 911 GT1 are battling Resultiadhar in a Ferrari F50 GT for 15p. Ricky095 is making gains on Hunan Cipher, shrinking the gap by 2.2 seconds. Spikex has advanced to 23p, passing Outcrossed. Spikex and Outcrossed are engaged in a battle for 23p, with Spikex in a McLaren F1 LM and Outcrossed in a Ferrari F50 GT. As the race progresses, WAC, MBG 2129 and Newkenbakken are closely fighting for the 14th position. Meanwhile, One Serious Guy and Twix 560 are locked in a battle for 21st place, with One Serious Guy in a Dower 962 LM and Twix 560 in a Ferrari F50 GT. Further back, MD 162 and Sir Ironbot have made significant strides, now at 33rd place after overtaking Eldela Koper. ESGN 7 and Sputnik NZ are currently going head-to-head for the 19th position, with Jinxshoot Foster gradually catching up to Bobardo and Edelberg, reducing the gap by 2.2 seconds. Ricky095 is gaining on Hunan Cipher, cutting the gap by 2.0 seconds. Meanwhile, Lacroix 1980 and Okyoki 3 are locked in a duel for 31st place. It's the Jaguar XJ220S versus the Dower 962 LM. Unknown Cipher has lost 2 places, now in 7th position. The trio of WAC, MBG 2129 and Newkenbakken are engaged in a tight battle for the 14th position. Themamestig is now in the first position after overtaking Gary Z. There's an interesting battle for 14th place involving WAC, MBG 2129 and Newkenbakken. ESGN 7 has made a move to 18th place, passing Komodo 3K and Amy. Okyoki 3 and Lacroix 1980 are locked in a tight duel for 31st place. Okyoki 3 is behind the wheel of a Dower 962 LM, while Lacroix 1980 is piloting a Jaguar XJ220S. Hunan Cipher has advanced to 3rd place, overtaking ST4NBZH. Meanwhile, Twix 560 and Outcrossed are locked in a battle for 21st position. Twix 560 and Outcrossed are currently vying for the 21st position. Outcrossed has advanced to 21p, surpassing Twix 560 from Team Bolt Bucket Motorsports. There's a competitive tussle between Outcrossed and Twix 560 for 21p. Neo-Texum is making a strong move, closing in on 81,792 by 2.2 seconds. Meanwhile, Waynetrain 94 is climbing up the ranks, now at 27p after overtaking Bobardo and Edelberg. White is facing challenges and has slipped back to 28p. Outcrossed is making moves, now at 20p after overtaking Twix 560. Speaking of Twix 560, they've also made progress, now at 21p after overtaking One Serious Guy. Hub'd 03 has moved up to 29p, overtaking Okyoki 3. Okyoki 3 has moved up to 30p, overtaking Lacroix 1980. Lacroix 1980 from Team Blast has moved up to 31p, overtaking MD 162 and Sir Ironbot. Outcrossed has advanced to 19p, overtaking Sputnik NZ. Now Outcrossed and Sputnik NZ are in a battle for 19p. Outcrossed is driving a Ferrari F50 GT and Sputnik NZ is driving a McLaren F1 LM. Sputnik NZ and Twix 560 are in a battle for 20p. Sputnik NZ is driving a McLaren F1 LM and Twix 560 is driving a Ferrari F50 GT. Resultiadhar has advanced to 16th place, surpassing Easgene 7. Okyoki 3 has progressed to 29th place, overtaking Hub'd 03. Simple Markers has climbed to 37th place, overtaking Jared Vainjiffen. MBG 2129, Nukembakken, and Resultiadhar are fiercely contesting the 15th position. In a separate battle, Eldelakulper and Twitch 5D are vying for the 33rd spot. Exciting duels unfolding on the track. Komodo 3K and Amy have advanced to 17p, surpassing Easgene 7. Komodo 3K and Amy make a move to 16p, passing MBG 2129 and Nukembakken. There's a tight battle for 16p between the four drivers. Meanwhile, Outcrossed advances to 18p, overtaking Easgene 7. Sputnik NZ has advanced to 20p, overtaking Twix 560. While Wipe is making some serious gains, quickly closing the gap by 26.4. Duff Dad is on the move, now sitting in 9p after overtaking Neo Texan. Meanwhile, MBG 2129 and Nukembakken have moved up to 17p, surpassing Outcrossed. Simple Markers is making a significant move, closing in on Twitch 5D by 10.8. The Domestic has gained ground on Gary Z, reducing the gap by 2.0. 10K Manine 704 has climbed to 10p, passing Amin San and Vosteroy. Neo Texan is now in 28p after falling back 12 positions. Outcrossed has advanced to 16p, surpassing MBG 2129 and Nukembakken. MBG 2129 and Nukembakken have climbed to 17p, overtaking Sputnik NZ. Okyoki 3 is making a strong push, significantly reducing the distance to Neo Texan by 53.8. Meanwhile, the Domestic and Union Cipher are fiercely contesting the second position, with their Dow 962 LM and Porsche 911 GT1 respectively. The Domestic is now in second place after passing Union Cipher. Meanwhile, White is making gains on Shipperman and MRF Society, reducing the gap by 4.5 seconds. The Domestic and Union Cipher are neck and neck for 2p in a thrilling battle. Meanwhile, White is making a strong push, closing in on Shipperman and MRF Society with a 4.8 second gain. ST4NBZH has surged to second place, passing Ricky095. In response, Ricky095 has moved into third, overtaking Human Cipher. Meanwhile, Human Cipher and Themamestic are engaged in a tight battle for fourth position. Human Cipher and Themamestic are locked in a tight battle for 2P. Human Cipher is behind the wheel of a Porsche 911 GT1, while Themamestic is commanding a Dower 962 LM. Meanwhile, MBG 2129 and Nikenbocken have made strides, climbing up to 16P, overtaking Outcrossed. Now, they are engaged in a three-way tussle for that position. MBG 2129 and Nikenbocken are driving a Porsche 911 GT1, while Outcrossed is piloting a Ferrari F50 GT. That Ferrari is pushing up a good fight. Everyone's pushing hard out there. WAGP is making a big move, closing the gap to Shipperman and MRF Society by 10.1. Hunan Cipher has jumped to 2P, passing Themamestic. Ricky095 is gradually catching up to ST4NBZH, reducing the gap by 3.0. Bobardo and Edelberg are making significant gains on Neo Texan, closing the gap by 5.7 seconds. ESGN7 has dropped 7 positions to 29P. Meanwhile, Themamestic and Street for NBZH are locked in a tight battle for 3P. Spikex is making a strong move, closing the gap on Twix 560 by 6.5. Hunan Cipher has surged to second place, overtaking Themamestic. Spikex continues to reel in Twix 560, now closing the gap by 6.5. Themamestic has overtaken Hunan Cipher, moving up to 2P. A battle is on between Themamestic in a Dower 962 LM and Hunan Cipher in a Porsche 911 GT1. Meanwhile, Ricky095 has overtaken ST4NBZH, securing 4P. MD162 and Surianbot are in a close duel as they both chase down ESGN7, with MD162 rapidly closing the gap by 7.9 seconds. Meanwhile, their Oryx Warcry is making gains on ST4NBZH, reducing the gap by 4.5 seconds. Additionally, Sputnik NZ has climbed to 17P after overtaking Outcrossed. Waynetrain 94 has advanced to 22P, overtaking Jinx Shoot Faster. Okyoki 3 has progressed to 27P, surpassing Bobardo and Edelberg. WAGP is gaining on Shipperman and MRF Society, reducing the gap by 2.1. Gary Z from Team No Name Racing is making his way to the front of the pack, closely followed by Themamestic and Street for NBZH. The competition is heating up early in the race. Their Oryx Warcry is now in 6P after overtaking Ricky095. One serious guy from Team No Name Racing is closing in on Sputnik NZ, decreasing the gap by 2.1 seconds. Eldelaculper is making significant progress, narrowing the gap by 24.8 and closing in on MD162 and Surianbot. Meanwhile, Gary Z and Themamestic are fiercely competing for the top spot. Keep an eye on the action. Resuldi Adhar has made a strong move, climbing to 12p after overtaking 4 cars. Adcrost is also making moves, taking 13p after overtaking 4 cars. 10K Manin 704 has impressively advanced to 5p, overtaking Amin San and Fosteroy. Ricky095 is making a significant gain, closing in on Amin San and Fosteroy by 14.4 units. Jinx Shoot Foster is on a hot streak, surpassing 7 cars to secure 16p. Okyoki 3 is also on the move, overtaking 10 cars to claim 17p. Hugged03 has made an impressive surge, overtaking 10 cars to claim 19th place. Simple Markers is swiftly gaining on Twitch 5D, narrowing the gap by 16.9. Twix 560 is steadily closing in on Outcrossed, reducing the gap by 2.4. Bobardo and Edelberg are making some serious gains on Okyoki 3, closing in by 9.8 seconds. ESGN 7 is on the move, overtaking 6 cars to secure 24p. Spikex is also closing in fast on ESGN 7, reducing the gap by 24.6 seconds. Manin 704 slips back to 11th place, while Spikex is closing in on ESGN 7 with a 10.3 second gain. Over at the front, Gary Z from Team No Name Racing has advanced to 2nd position, passing Street for NBZH. AG1792 is closing the gap on Human Cipher by 19.7. Baroyanix Warcry is closing the gap on AG1792 by 7.7. Resuldi Adhar is closing the gap on One Serious Guy by 6.8. Jinx Shoot Faster is closing the gap on One Serious Guy by 10.5. Bobardo and Edelberg are making big moves, overtaking 4 cars to take 14p. Duvdad is also on the move, overtaking 4 cars to take 16p. The competition is heating up. Resuldi Adhar drops back to 21st place. ESGN 7 is on the move, closing the gap by 48.5 to Hugged03. MD 162 and Sarayanbot are also making gains, closing in on Neo Texan by 12.6. Duvdad is making significant gains, closing the gap on 10K Manin 704 by 30.9 units. Resuldi Adhar is also closing in on Komodo 3K and Amy, reducing the gap by 15.6. Duvdad continues to reel in 10K Manin 704, narrowing the gap by 30.9 units. Adcrost is gaining on ESGN 7, reducing the gap by 20.3. Spikex is making a move, closing in on Adcrost by 7.7. Amin San and Vosteroy are both catching up to ST4 and BZH, closing the gap by 3.3. AG1792 is gaining on Human Cipher, reducing the gap by 2.6 seconds. Okyoki 3 has advanced to 11th place, passing Bobardo and Edelberg. Bobardo and Edelberg have also moved up to 12th place, overtaking 10K Manin 704. Gary Z has surged into 1st place, overtaking the Memestig. Okyoki 3 from Team COD is narrowing the gap to One Serious Guy by 2.8. Komodo 3K and Amy have advanced to 18th place, overtaking Resuldi Adhar. It's all about that fuel strategy. Let's see who can make their fuel last the longest. Amin-san and Vosteroy are making a strong push, reducing the gap to Street 4 NBZH by 39.9. Meanwhile, Jinx Shoot Faster is facing issues and has slipped 9 positions to 25p. Excitingly, the domestic has surged to 1p, successfully overtaking Ricky 095. Ricky 095, the domestic, and ST4NBZH are setting the pace at the start of this race. It's a tight competition early on, with all three drivers jostling for position. Hyundai Cipher is now only 11.2 seconds behind ST4NBZH. On the other hand, Jared Vangeven has reduced the gap to simple markers by 36.9 seconds. Also, Hyundai Cipher is continuing to close in on ST4NBZH, now just 11.2 seconds behind. Tenkamenin 704 is making a strong move, closing the gap by 7.5 seconds on Amin-san and Vosteroy. MBG 2129 and Nukembakum are also on the move, closing in on Okyoki 3 with a 35.0 second reduction. Additionally, Crazyglu and Nibit are quickly closing the gap by 5.9 seconds on Jared Vangeven. Okyoki 3 is making a strong push, reducing the gap to Twix 560 by 8.0. Resultiadhar has climbed to 17p, overtaking one serious guy from Team No Name Racing. It looks like Okyoki 3 is really putting on the pressure, closing in on Twix 560. Bobardo and Edelbrook are fighting it out with Duffdad for the 11th position. Twix 560 is steadily catching up to one serious guy, reducing the gap by 2.3. Lacroix 1980 is also closing in on MD 162 and Sarayan Bot, narrowing the gap by 2.5. Adcrost has advanced to 21p, surpassing Ace 7. The two are now locked in a heated battle for 21p. Adcrost is piloting a Ferrari F50 GT while Ace 7 is in a Jaguar XJ220S. Meanwhile, Lacroix 1980 is making significant gains on MD 162 and Sarayan Bot, reducing the gap by 2.6. Understood. ST4NBZH from No Name Racing now in the lead after overtaking Ricky 095. Exciting battle for 5th place between Hyundai Cipher and 81,792. Lacroix 1980 closing in on MD 162 and Sarayan Bot, reducing the gap by 2.2. Raphael and Meyer are gaining on Twitch 5D, reducing the gap by 43.8. The domestic has taken the lead from Ricky 095. Amin-san and Vosteroy are catching up to Gary Z, closing the gap by 2.3. Twitch 5D's lead is shrinking as Raphael and Meyer rapidly reduce the gap by 6.1 seconds. Meanwhile, Okyoki 3 from Team COD has made a move up to 19p, overtaking Twix 560. The competition is heating up. Hyundai Cipher and 81,792 continue their duel for 5p, with Hyundai Cipher in a Porsche 911 GT1 and 81,792 in a Ferrari F50 GT. Meanwhile, Neo Texan and Jinx Shoot Faster are locked in their own battle for 25p, with Neo Texan in a Porsche 911 GT1 and Jinx Shoot Faster in a Ferrari F50 GT. Street 4 NBZH is making moves, now sitting in 2p after overtaking Ricky 095. Meanwhile, MBG 2129 and Nukenbocken are locked in a fierce battle with Bo Bardo and Edelberg for 12p. It's a Porsche 911 GT1 versus a Ferrari 288 GTO Evolution showdown. $81,792 has made a bold move, securing the 5th position by overtaking Baroinix Warcry. Not one to be outdone, Baroinix Warcry swiftly counterattacks, reclaiming the 6th spot from Thunon Cipher. A thrilling battle for the 6th position is unfolding between Baroinix Warcry in a McLaren F1 LM and Thunon Cipher in a Porsche 911 GT1. Jinx Shoot Faster is catching up to Spikex, reducing the gap by 2.6 seconds. Baroinix Warcry in the McLaren F1 LM and Thunon Cipher in the Porsche 911 GT1 are fiercely contesting for 6th place. Meanwhile, MD 162 and Sir Ironbot in Ferrari 288 GTO and Lacroix 1980 in the Jaguar XJ220S are engaged in a heated battle for the 31st position. Looks like the race is heating up. Let's see if Gary can make a move after the pit stop. And Edelberg heading into the pits, let's see how that plays out. Bo Bardo and Edelberg have dropped to 25p. Thunon Cipher is now at 6p after overtaking Baroinix Warcry. Amin San and Vosteroy are catching up to Gary Z, reducing the gap by 4.1 seconds. ESGN7 is making some gains, closing the gap on Twix 560 by 2.0. Bo Bardo and Edelberg have significantly closed the gap on Jinx Shoot Faster by 15.8 units. One Serious Guy and Twix 560 are locked in a tight battle for the 18th position. One Serious Guy is piloting a Dower 962 LM, while Twix 560 maneuvers a Ferrari F50 GT. Thunon Cipher and Baroinix Warcry are fiercely contesting the 6th position, with Thunon Cipher in a Porsche 911 GT1 and Baroinix Warcry driving a McLaren F1 LM. Meanwhile, Twix 560 has made a significant move up to 18th place after overtaking One Serious Guy. Both are now locked in a battle for the 18th spot, with Twix 560 in a Ferrari F50 GT and One Serious Guy driving a Dower 962 LM. Looks like things are getting intense out there on the track. Hang in there, everyone. Let's see what happens next. ST4NBZH from Team No Name Racing has surged to 2p, overtaking Team Domestic. Keep an eye on the battle between Baroinix Warcry and Gary Z for 7p. Also, Amin San and Vosteroy are rapidly closing in on Gary Z, reducing the gap by 3.7 seconds. Thunon Cipher is making headway, narrowing the gap to 81,792 by 2.7. Amin-san and Vosteroy have jumped to 8p, overtaking 10K 704. Speaking of which, 10K 704 has also overtaken MBG 2129 and Nukambakum, now sitting at 9p. The Domestic has dropped to 18th place, facing some challenges. Amin-san and Vosteroy are gaining on Baroinix Warcry, closing in by 2.1 seconds. Resultiadhar has made a move up to 13th place, successfully overtaking Okyoki 3 from Team COD. The race is heating up. Komodo 3K and Amy have surged to 17p, parsing Eusgene 7. Neo Texum has made moves too, jumping to 22p ahead of the Domestic. Meanwhile, Wayne Train 94 is on the move, now at 27p after overtaking Bobardo and Edelberg. Eldelakulper is making a bold move, closing in on MD 162 and Sarayanbot by 34.6. Baroinix Warcry has overtaken Gary Z to secure 6th position. Eusgene 7 in a Jaguar XJ220S is currently battling it out with Outcrossed in a Ferrari F50 GT for 18th place. ST4NBZH is making a push, closing in on Ricky 095 by 2.2 seconds. Yunnan Ziffer has climbed to 5th place, overtaking Baroinix Warcry. Outcrossed has also made progress, moving up to 18th place after overtaking Sputnik NZ. Gary Z is making moves, climbing to the 6th position after overtaking Baroinix Warcry. One serious guy has advanced to 20th place, parsing Eusgene 7. Neo Texum is steadily catching up to Eusgene 7, reducing the gap by 2.0. You'll better keep your eyes on the race. Things are getting spicy out there. Let's hope you both make it out in one piece. Good luck out there, racers. MD 162 and Sarayanbot are making a rapid approach on the Domestic, closing the gap by 177.3. Jared Vainjiffen is swiftly closing in on WAC, reducing the gap by 42.1. ST4NBZH is gaining ground on Ricky 095, narrowing the gap by 2.5. Hey Niaib, welcome back to the stream. Good to have you back with us for some AI race car action. Wow, WEC is really making a move, closing the gap on simple markers by 5.3. Meanwhile, Dovdad has climbed to 9p by overtaking 10K 704, and Wayne Train 94 has surged to 24p, parsing Bobardo and Edelberg. Tenke 704 has made a move, surpassing Baroinix Warcry for the 8th position. It's a tight battle between them. Meanwhile, Eusgene 7 is steadily gaining on Bobardo and Edelberg, reducing the gap by 4.3 seconds. Currently, Baroinix Warcry has advanced to 8p, surpassing 10K 704. The battle for 10p is heating up between Dovdad in the McLaren F1 LM and MBG 2129, as well as Nukambakum in the Porsche 911 GT1. Meanwhile, the Domestic is making a move, closing in on Lacroix 1980 by 2.5 seconds. Neo-Texan is narrowing the gap to Sputnik NZ by 2.1. Thema Mestig is closing in on Lacroix 1980, reducing the gap by 2.7. Alder has advanced to 32p, overtaking one serious guy. Resultiadhar is making gains on Dovdad, reducing the gap by 3.9. Meanwhile, Thema Mestig has climbed to 29p, overtaking Lacroix 1980, and Twitch 5D has advanced to 34p, overtaking RR Raphael and Meyer. Funan Cipher moves up to 4p, overtaking 81,792. Baroyanix Warcry advances to 8p, overtaking 10k Manin 704. Wipe closes in on one serious guy, reducing the gap by 2.2 seconds. Neo-Texan has advanced to 19p, overtaking Sputnik NZ. Wipe has climbed to 36p, parsing Simple Markers. In turn, Simple Markers has moved up to 37p, overtaking one serious guy. Dovdad is making gains on MBG 2129 and Nikambakan, reducing the gap by 2.8 seconds. Adcrost is closing in on Komodo 3K and Amy, narrowing the gap by 2.2. Neo-Texan has advanced to 20p, overtaking Jinx Shoot Faster. MD 162 and Sir Ironbot continue to make gains on Lacroix 1980, reducing the gap by 45.0. Meanwhile, Wipe is closing in on RR Raphael and Meyer, narrowing the gap by 3.4. MD 162 and Sir Ironbot are making a charge, closing the gap by 7.5 seconds on Lacroix 1980. Meanwhile, 10k Manin 704 and Baroyanix Warcry are locked in a battle for 8th position, showcasing some intense competition on the track. Aminsan and Vostroy now in 6p after overtaking Gary Z. Wipe is quickly closing the gap by 2.7, reeling in RR Raphael and Meyer. Meanwhile, Crazyglue and Nibbit have advanced to 39p by overtaking Susanne Greenberg and Super Lacroix. ST4NBZH has claimed the top spot, surpassing Ricky 095. 10k Manin 704 has advanced to 8p, overtaking Baroyanix Warcry. Adcrost has climbed to 17p, overtaking Komodo 3K and Amy. $81,792 from Team Blue Star has advanced to 4p, making a successful overtake on Funan Cipher. Sputnik NZ is rapidly gaining on Komodo 3K and Amy, reducing the gap by 2.3 seconds. $10k Manin 704 has advanced to 8p, surpassing Baroyanix Warcry. The battle for 8p intensifies between 10k Manin 704 in a Ferrari F50 GT and Baroyanix Warcry in a McLaren F1 LM Dot. Ricky 095 has made a significant move, closing the gap by 16.3 on 81,792. Aminsan and Vostroy are also closing in on Funan Cipher, reducing the gap by 44.7. Keep an eye on these exciting developments. Twix 560 advances to 10p after overtaking 4Cars. Adcrost makes the strong move, overtaking 4Cars to claim 12p. Okyoki 3 overtakes Twix 560 and grabs 9p. Simple Markers is making a strong move, closing in on Wipe by 31.2 units. Komodo 3K and Amy have advanced to 14p, overtaking Baroinix Warcry. Jinx Shoot Faster is steadily gaining ground on Neo Texum, reducing the gap by 2.3 units. Jinx Shoot Faster makes a swift move, overtaking 5 cars to claim 16p. Wipe closing in on RR Raphael and Meyer, narrowing the gap by 9.5. Amin San, Vosteroy, and Gary Z are locked in a tight battle for 4p. Neo Texum is making a significant charge, closing the gap by 26.7 to Komodo 3K and Amy. Gary Z from Team No Name Racing has jumped to 4th place, overtaking Amin San and Vosteroy. Jinx Shoot Faster has moved up to 15th place, surpassing Duff Dad. Sputnik NZ is closing in on Neo Texum, reducing the gap by 16.1. ESGN 7 is also making gains and narrowing the gap to Sputnik NZ by 15.9. Sputnik NZ continues to reel in Neo Texum, now reducing the gap by 16.1. ESGN 7 is making a strong move, closing the gap to Sputnik NZ by 31.1. Also, Hugged03 has advanced to 24p, overtaking Team Mestig. Twix 560 is steadily closing in on Okyoki 3, reducing the gap by 2.6. Meanwhile, Baroinix Warcry has made a strong move to 16p, overtaking Duff Dad. Susanne Greenberg and Super Lacroix are also making moves, now at 39p after overtaking Crazy Glue and Nibbit. Ricky095 has advanced to 2p, overtaking 81,792. Shipperman and MRF Society have progressed to 39p, passing Susanne Greenberg and Super Lacroix. Ricky095 overtakes 81,792 for 2p. Amin San and Vosteroy make moves to 5p, passing 10k Manin 704. Susanne Greenberg and Super Lacroix advance to 39p, overtaking Crazy Glue and Nibbit. Hyunnun Cipher continues to make impressive strides, now sitting in 7th place after overtaking 5 cars. Conversely, 81,792 is facing challenges and has slipped to 10th position, losing 7 places. Susanne Greenberg and Super Lacroix are closing in on Crazy Glue and Nibbit, reducing the gap by 83.9. MBG 2129 and Newcambocken are on the move, making some quick overtakes to secure 10th position. Meanwhile, Susanne Greenberg and Super Lacroix are really closing in on Crazy Glue and Nibbit, reducing the gap by 13.1. Additionally, Shipperman and MRF Society are on a charge, closing the gap on Susanne Greenberg and Super Lacroix by a whopping 98.5. MBG 2129 and Newcambocken are making a strong move, closing the gap to 81,792 by 10.3 seconds. Meanwhile, Hyunnun Cipher has surged into 5th place, overtaking Okyoki 3 from Team COD. The competition is heating up. MBG 2129 and Newcambocken are making gains on 81,792 from Team Blue Star. reducing the gap by 2.9. Outcrossed is closing in on Dovdad from Team COD, narrowing the gap by 3.4. Resuldiadhar is also reeling in Outcrossed, closing the gap by 4.5. Twitch 5D is closing in on Eldalakoper, reducing the gap by 22.1. Ricky095 is catching up to ST4NBZH, cutting the gap by 2.8. Amin San and Vosteroy are fiercely battling Human Cipher for 4P. Human Cipher has fallen to 6P as Okyoki 3 makes a solid move up to 5P. Tenkainin 70 makes the move to 11th place, surpassing Twix 560. Resuldiadhar also advances to 16th place, overtaking Outcrossed. Spikex is gaining on Team Domestic, narrowing the gap by 2.1 seconds. Meanwhile, Shipperman and MRF Society are also catching up to Crazyglue and Nibbit, reducing the gap by 2.1 seconds. Okyoki 3 has advanced to 4P, surpassing Amin-san and Vosteroy. Meanwhile, Dovdad and Outcrossed are engaged in a duel for 15P. Exciting times on the track. Hunan Cipher is now in 5th place after overtaking Amin-san and Vosteroy. Resuldiadhar is closing in on Outcrossed, narrowing the gap by 2.6. Team Domestic is also making moves, closing in on Hugged 03 with a 3.1 gap reduction. $81,792 shows impressive strides, overtaking NBG 2,129 and Nikambakan to secure the 8th spot. Train 94 from Team Wang and Midnight Runners is making moves, advancing to 27th position after overtaking Hugged 03. Meanwhile, WAGP has made a significant leap to 33rd place by passing Twitch 5D. Lacroix 1980 is making a strong move, closing the gap on Hugged 03 by 45.1. Meanwhile, Gary Z is gaining ground on Ricky 095, reducing the gap by 3.1. Additionally, Tenkainin 704 has overtaken Twix 560, moving up to 10th place. Simple Markers is making a swift move, closing in on Ara Raphael and Meyer with a 24.7 gain. Meanwhile, Baroinix Warcry has climbed to 12P, overtaking Dovdad, who in return has moved up to 13P, overtaking Outcrossed. Jinx Shoot Faster is closing in on Bobardo and Edelberg, reducing the gap by 34.2. Thema Domestic is also catching up to Jinx Shoot Faster, closing the gap by 41.0. Additionally, Tenkainin 704 is narrowing the gap to MBG 2129 and Nikambakan by 2.2. Saint 4NBZH is showing some impressive skills as he maintains the lead, followed closely by Ricky 095 and Gary Z. The competition is heating up early in the race. Theme Domestic is rapidly catching up to Jinx Shoot Faster, reducing the gap by 31.7. Gary Z is also closing in on Ricky 095, narrowing the gap by 2.0. Twix 560 from Team Bolt Bucket Motorsports has made a move up to 10P, overtaking Baroinix Warcry. Ricky095 has impressively closed the gap on ST4NBZH by 45.8. And Wagp is also making moves, reducing the distance to El de la Culper by 2.3. Hey, Hypercars 38 is back in the house. Welcome back, let's buckle up for some thrilling AI race car action together. Racing car dash symbol. Ricky095 is closing in on ST4NBZH, reducing the gap by 4.7 seconds. Baroyanix Warcry and Dove Dad are in a heated battle for 12th place. Komodo 3K and Amy have made strides and are now in 15th position after overtaking Zolder Har. Gary Z has made an impressive move up to 3rd place, overtaking the unknown Cypher. Meanwhile, AIT 1792 from Team Blue Star has advanced to 7th place, overtaking MBG 2129 and Nukembakken. The latter duo has now moved up to 8th place, surpassing Okyoki 3. AIT 1792 is closing the gap on Gary Z by 15.9. 10K Manine 704 is closing the gap on Okyoki 3 by 50.2. Susanne Greenberg and Super Lacroix are closing the gap on Jared Vainjefen by 45.3. Welcome back, are you serial? It's great to have you back and joining us for some awesome race car action. Let's buckle up and enjoy the ride together. Racing car party popper. Susanne Greenberg and Super Lacroix are making serious gains on Jared Van Geffen, closing the gap by 5.9. Hyunnun Cipher is also closing in on Ricky095, narrowing the gap by 3.2. Amin San and Vosteroy are reeling in Twix 560 from Team Bolt Bucket Motorsports, reducing the gap by 4.4. Hey there Aslani9, welcome back to the stream. Glad to have you back for some high-speed racing action. Let's buckle up and enjoy the race together. Hyunnun Cipher is closing in on Ricky095, reducing the gap by 2.3 seconds. Okyoki 3 is also making moves, narrowing the gap to MBG 2129 and Nukembakken by 2.6 seconds. Meanwhile, Outcrossed has climbed to 13th place, overtaking Duff Dad. Duff Dad has made a move and is now in 13th place, passing Outcrossed. Neo Texan from Team Nafgum Kings and Komodo 3K are currently in a tight battle with Amy for 16th position. Spikex is making a move, closing in on Jinx Shoot Faster by 2.6. El de la Culper is also on the charge, reducing the gap to MD 162 and Sarayanbot by 2.6. Bobardo and Edelberg have their eyes set on his GN7, closing the gap by 5.6 units. Hogt03 is gaining ground on Thema Mestic, with a 38.8 unit reduction in gap. Okyoki 3 is closing in on MBG 2129 and Nukembakken, narrowing the gap by 2.2 units. Okyoki 3 from Team COD is making a move, closing in on MBG 2129 and Nukembakken by 2.5. Jinx Shoot Faster has advanced to 22p, overtaking his GN7. Hogt03 is also closing the gap, now just for 0.7 behind Thema Mestic. Jinx Shoot Faster is making a strong move, closing in on Bobardo and Edelbert by 9.0 units. Okyoki 3 is also gaining ground, reducing the gap to MBG 2129 and Nikambakan by 2.0 units. Additionally, Outcrossed has advanced to 12p, overtaking Baroinic's Warcry. ESGN 7 is making a strong move, closing in on Wayne Train 94 and reducing the gap by 6.2 seconds. Themamestic is closing in on ESGN 7, reducing the gap by 10.0 seconds. Themamestic has narrowed the gap to ESGN 7 by 3.1. Gary Z has made a bold move, now in 4th place after overtaking the unknown Cypher. Meanwhile, there's an exciting battle for 18th place between Komodo 3K in a Porsche 911 GT1, Amy in the same car, and Sputnik NZ in a McLaren F1 LM. Twix 560 is closing in on Okyoki 3, reducing the gap by 2.2 seconds. Meanwhile, Crazy Glue and Nibbit are reeling in Suzanne Greenberg and Super Lacroix, closing the gap by 2.0 seconds. R.A. Raphael and Meyer are showing some impressive speed, closing in on Twitch 5D by 6.7 seconds. Meanwhile, Outcrossed has made a move up to 11p, successfully overtaking 10K Manin 704. And it looks like R.A. Raphael and Maya's pursuit is still going strong, with the gap decreasing by 6.7 seconds. Okyoki 3 advances to 7th place, overtaking MBG 2129 and Nikambakan. Twix 560 is closing in on MBG 2129 and Nikambakan, reducing the gap by 2.6. Neo Texan and Sputnik NZ are engaged in a battle for 16th place, with Neo Texan driving a Porsche 911 GT1 and Sputnik NZ in a McLaren F1 LM. Themamestic is edging closer to ESGN 7, reducing the gap by 5.7. Meanwhile, Wipe is making a swift move towards Eldalakoper, closing the gap by 25.8. And Resuldiadhar has climbed to 15p, successfully overtaking Neo Texan. Gary Z is making gains on the unknown Cypher, reducing the gap by 2.3. Neo Texan is also closing in on Resuldiadhar, now just 2.6 seconds behind. Wipe is steadily gaining on Eldalakoper, narrowing the gap by 3.5 seconds. Gary Z is making a strong move, closing in on the unknown Cypher. Okyoki 3 is on the rise, now in 7th place after overtaking MBG 2129 and Nikambakan. Amin San, Bostroy, and 10K Manin 704 are in an intense three-way battle for 10th place, each driving impressive cars. Amin San, Bostroy, and Outcrossed are going head-to-head for 11p. Amin San and Bostroy are in a Dara 962 LM, while Outcrossed is rocking a Ferrari F50 GT. Themamestic is making moves, getting closer to his ESGN 7 by 2.6. Meanwhile, MD 162 and Sir Ironbot are inching closer to Lacroix 1980, reducing the gap by 2.0. Noted. Neo Texum has advanced to 16p, overtaking Komodo 3K and Amy. Jinx Shoot Faster is gaining on Bobardo and Edelberg, reducing the gap by 2.8. Wipe is closing in on Eldelacoper, shrinking the gap by 4.2. Welcome back, Opposed. Good to have you back in the race car spectating crew. Let's enjoy some high-speed action together. Pleasure Racer 97 has advanced to 12p, overtaking Racer X 89. Incredible! Speed Demon 45 has gained 2 places, now at 6p, overtaking Fast Lane 22 and Turbocharge 99. It's getting intense out there. It's great to see some sportsmanship on the track with drivers letting each other pass. And Opposed, make sure you don't miss the action next time. Lacroix 1980 is making a strong move, gaining on MD 162 and Sir Ironbot by reducing the gap by 13.8. Eldelacoper is also on the move, closing the gap on Lacroix 1980 by 9.0. Ricky 095 is pulling closer to ST4NBZH, reducing the gap by 4.7. Unknown Cipher has moved up to 3p, overtaking Ricky 095. 81,792 is reeling in Gary Z, closing the gap by 3.0. Rizaldi Adhar is reeling in Dove Dad, closing the gap by 2.1. Gary Z is closing in on the Unknown Cipher, reducing the gap by 4.2 seconds. 81,792 has advanced to 5p, overtaking Ricky 095. Rizaldi Adhar is closing in on Dove Dad, reducing the gap by 3.1 seconds. Okyoki 3 is making gains on Ricky 095, reducing the gap by 3.5. Outcrossed has advanced to 11p, passing Amin-san and Fosteroy. Baroinix Warcry and Dove Dad are battling for 13p. Okyoki 3 is making a significant gain on Ricky 095, reducing the gap by 5.5. Meanwhile, 10K Manin 704 and Outcrossed are locked in a tight battle for 10th place. Aminsan and Vosteroy are making moves, closing the gap by 2.0 seconds on Outcrossed. Twix 560 is now in 8th place after overtaking MBG 2129 and Nukembakum. Meanwhile, there's a tight battle for 9th place between MBG 2129 and Nukembakum against 10K Manin 704. Jinx Shoot Faster has moved up to 21st place after overtaking Bobardo and Edelberg. Gary Z making moves to secure the 2nd position, overtaking 81,792. 81,792 now in 3rd, passing Ricky 095 who is now in 4th, surpassing Unknown Cipher. Unknown Cipher drops to 11th place. Bobardo and Edelberg are closing in on Spikex by 30.5. Wayne 94 is closing the gap on Bobardo and Edelberg by 33.8. Unknown Cipher is rapidly closing in on Amin-san and Vosteroy, reducing the gap by 23.0. ESGN 7 is swiftly catching up with Wayne 94, closing the gap by 7.8. Hyundai is reeling in Amundsen and Vosteroy, closing the gap by 23.0. Looks like there's some intense racing action out there. Keep it friendly, folks. Amundsen and Vosteroy are making gains, closing the gap on Outcrossed by 5.8. Similarly, MBG 2129 and Newcombochum are quickly catching up to Zolder, closing the gap by 14.3. Meanwhile, Bobardo and Edelbrock are also gaining ground on Thema Mestic, closing the gap by 8.9. Jinx Shoot Faster is making moves, overtaking 6 cars to grab 15p. Hugged 03 is closing in on Bobardo and Edelbrock, reducing the gap by 9.7. Gary Z is narrowing the gap to Street for NBZH by 3.0. Twix 560 is making a swift move, closing the gap on Okioki 3 by 6.6. Meanwhile, Komodo 3K and Amy are both gaining ground on Neo Texan, reducing the gap by 27.9. It looks like Twix 560 is on the move again, narrowing the distance to Okioki 3 by 6.6. Spectacular. ESGN 7 is making a rapid advance and has reduced the gap to Sputnik NZ by 7.2 units. Hugged 03 is also on the move, narrowing the gap to Spikex by 31.0 units. Meanwhile, Outcrossed has surged to 8p, leaving Amundsen and Vosteroy behind. Spikex is making impressive gains, closing in on Bobardo and Edelbrock by 19.3 units. Meanwhile, Hugged 03 is also on the move, rapidly closing the gap on Spikex by 44.0 units. The competition is heating up. Hugged 03 is rapidly catching up to Spikex, reducing the gap by 6.2. Meanwhile, Bobardo and Edelbrock are also closing in on Thema Mestic, narrowing the gap by 2.3. The competition is heating up. Hyundai is doing great by creating a gap of 2.5 seconds. Good job. Gary Z is catching up to ST4 NBZH, closing the gap by 2.0. Meanwhile, Thema Mestic has advanced to 23p, leaving Wayne Train 94 behind. Bobardo and Edelbrock are making their move, surpassing Wayne Train 94 to secure the 24th position. Meanwhile, MD 162, Sarayenbot, and Wyke are entangled in a tussle for 30th place, with their Ferrari 288 GTO and Porsche 911 GT1 in contention. Wayne Train 94 is making significant gains, narrowing the gap to Bobardo and Edelbrock by 14.5. Meanwhile, Spikex is steadily closing in on Wayne Train 94, reducing the gap by 49.9. Additionally, Shipperman and MRF Society are both closing the distance to Crazy Glue and Nibbit, bringing the gap down by 6.5. Ricky095 has made a move to 2p, passing 81,792. Okioki 3 has advanced to 4p, overtaking Gary Z from Team No Name Racing. Wayne Train 94 is narrowing the gap to Hugged 03 by 2.1 seconds. Amundsen and Vosteroy are making strong moves, overtaking 4 cars to secure the 5th position. 81,792 has been passed by Amin-san and Vosteroy for that 5th spot. Additionally, 10K Manine 704 has advanced to 9th place, overtaking the unknown Cypher.
He did that on purpose. What an idiot. What an idiot. Witness there. That was just wrong.
The unknown Cypher is on the move, up 4 places to 6p. Rizaldi Adhar is also making moves, up 4 places to 8p. And we've got Bobardo and Edilber closing in on Pima Mestig, reducing the gap by 586.0. Hugged 03 is making a solid move, narrowing the gap by 592.6 with Spikex. Meanwhile, Twix 560 has shown some impressive overtaking skills, moving up to 7p and surpassing 81,792. $81,792 made a slick move, taking 7th place from Twix 560. MBG 2129 and Nukem Bakum are also on the rise, now at 11th position after overtaking 10K Manine 704. Further back, Jinx Shoot Foster has surged ahead, grabbing 13th place from Rizaldi Adhar. $10K Manine 704 is narrowing the gap to outcrossed by 7.1. Jinx Shoot Foster is also closing in on 10K Manine 704, reducing the gap by 6.5. Meanwhile, Rizaldi Adhar is quickly catching up to Jinx Shoot Foster, closing the gap by 17.8. Twitch 5D is closing in on Eldelakoper, reducing the gap by 42.3 units. Okioki 3 is gaining on Ricky 095, narrowing the gap by 2.4 units. Bobardo and Edelberg have advanced to 22p, overtaking Gary Z. Twitch 5D is making a strong move, closing the gap on Eldelakoper by 10.7. Spikex has advanced to 23p, overtaking Hugged 03, who in turn has moved up to 24p, passing Wayne Train 94. 10K Manine 704 has made a move, narrowing the gap to outcrossed by 2.1. $81,792 has narrowed the gap to Human Cipher by 2.3 seconds. Lacroix 1980 has advanced to 27p, overtaking Wag. Wag has advanced to 28p, surpassing Gary Z. Tough day out there on the track. Plenty more action to come, let's keep those spirits up.